Hello, everybody, and welcome to Uproot Reddit. Going grocery shopping is essential, yet sometimes it can feel stressful. For instance, if you're shopping at a grocery store you've never been in before, knowing which aisle the Oreo cookies are can be tedious and tiresome. Flagging down staff members can sometimes be a chore, thereby extending your run and gun shopping experience to an hour or perhaps 2 hours. So, what could be worse than having to spend so much time in the grocery store? How about Reddit user Pint Size's experience with a customer that mistook them for an actual grocery store staff member? Somehow. In today's post, sorry, I don't know where a specific item is. Go ahead, call the manager. That sounds like a good I don't care statement. Here's what actually happened. Quote, earlier this year, I was in my local grocery store. I had just got off work, so was wearing a white dress shirt, dress pants, and a tie. Here I am minding my own business, looking for taco mix, when a woman who was about 30 comes up to me. The woman asked me what aisle pancake mix is in, so I told her, I think it is in aisle 5. Lady walks away, no thank you, no nothing. Talk about good friendly service there. About 5 minutes later, I'm getting something from the top shelf for my wife, who was standing next to me, when the lady comes up to me again, looking annoyed. This time she goes, it wasn't in aisle 5. I went down there and it wasn't there. I ended up finding it in aisle 6. I responded, sorry? Meanwhile, my wife is looking super confused. Probably the appropriate response. The woman goes on to ask if there was a washroom she could use. I tell her, sorry, I don't think the bathroom is for public use. But she interrupts me. I have to use the washroom. This is ridiculous. You won't even let paying customers use the washroom. I demand to speak to your manager immediately. Is that really necessary? I mean, there is a sign that probably says not for public use. But, if you want to call the manager on that, then by all means, go ahead and do it. You'd be wasting his time and yours. Anyways, we continue. At this point, I am now annoyed. My response, sure, but honestly, I don't think she'll care what you have to say about the store's washroom policy. By this time, the woman's husband and the store manager have walked up. The lady raises her voice. You jerk, I demand to speak to the manager now. Her husband, looking horrified, quickly interjects. Honey, he doesn't work here. I look her dead in the eye. Yeah, I totally don't work here. I was just trying to be helpful. Do you still want me to call my manager? Her husband answered, no, it's fine. Sorry. As I'm walking away, I hear the lady say to the store manager, he has a serious attitude problem. You are just gonna let him talk to customers like that? Well, considering he is a customer, why not? To which he responded, sorry ma'am, but he's not an employee. He doesn't work here. He's another shopper. It's at this point that I really feel bad for the lady's husband. He has to sit through all of this. It's probably very embarrassing and also quite disturbing to see his wife go on a crazy rant just because she can't use the restroom. What makes matters worse is she's not really helping her case at all. He probably didn't have that bad of an attitude. It's just she had a bad attitude and she should probably be banned from the store. After all, she's the one that raised her voice. So well done, Pint Size, for basically keeping your cool throughout that whole entire conversation. Not many people can pull that off. Anyways, we continue. As we are walking to the checkout lane, my wife goes, why do people always think you work in stores when we go shopping? The next day at work, for good measure, I informed my manager that I had a customer complaint about my attitude and not knowing what aisle pancake mix is in at the grocery store. Her response? She laughed. See, when you can have a good laugh about a situation that honestly wasn't caused by you, That's when you know you have a really good attitude about it. And here are some edits worth considering from Pint Size, who may have made a couple of errors when it came to the word aisle. Quote, okay, so thank you to all for clarifying the difference between aisle and aisle for me. I sometimes run into issues spelling as I don't catch words where homophones are involved and end up relying on phonetic spelling. And that's perfectly fine. Homophones are pretty difficult to differentiate if you don't know the context. But anyways, judging by this situation, looks like controlling other customers, even though you are one of them, crazy lady, is not the way to go. Nobody wants to be controlled by another customer or by another person. Plus, Pint Size is not a walking directory. No one is, unless they know the ins and out of the store pretty well. Now, if you have a favorite store to go to, then of course you know where everything is. It's almost like you live there. Call it a second home if you wish. You know where the spice aisle is, you know where the Oreo cookies are, you even know where the cake is. It just doesn't pay you unless you want to work there. But if you want to work there, you just have to submit a resume. But what if you work at home? Like most people are subject to doing these days, especially during these crazy times that we're living in. Then you have to make sure that whoever your customers are, they just don't come barging in willy-nilly to your house, like what happened to Reddit user Drygox. I mean, maybe they were working from home, or maybe not. Either way, someone thought their house was a business. In today's post, I don't work here. I live here. The moment you outright say that is the moment that, people are crazy. So let's see what actually happened to Drygox. Quote, me minding my own business at home, prepping my lunch to go to work. Here comes this lady, opens the storm door and wiggles the doorknob. I freak out because I wasn't expecting a visit. She didn't even knock. And when I peek through the blinds, I see she's a total stranger. Sounds to me like she's trying to set herself up to be a robber. I open the door and ask, may I help you? Is this the Social Security office? No, ma'am, this is my house. Yes, they told me it was going to be a house. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks going around, so I'm very confused as to why you would think that. Ma'am, this is literally my house. I live here. I can already hear the crickets of awkwardness sound off. The choir of crickets, if you will. Lady stares at me in disbelief, although I'm standing there in my bathrobe. Okay, the choir of crickets has now expanded. Just got more awkward. I open further the door and gesture at my kitchen. She rolls her eyes, mumbling something, and turns around. Probably best that you do turn around, lady, because otherwise, Google Maps just took you way far off the beaten path. I mean, first off, how did you find Drygox's place? And then second of all, didn't you listen to the instructions that, the Social Security office told you? Maybe you just made a wrong left turn or a wrong right turn. I don't know. But you don't just barge into someone's house unannounced. You obviously knock first. It doesn't matter if their business is run from their home. You knock first. Everybody knows this. Except for this lady here. Anyways, we continue. I'm confused. So are all of us. Why did she insist? As the famous Tootsie Roll pop commercial always says, the world may never know. But in all seriousness, that is perhaps one of the scariest, most awkward encounters yet. Imagine sitting at home, drinking coffee, then some random stranger just barges into your home asking if your house was a business establishment. Talk about both inconvenient and rude, and not even knocking, no less. Hence why it's best to either Google the directions or call the business for directions, maybe it's for the best to set up security cameras around the house just in case that happens again. Honestly, the world is full of surprises, that's for sure. But what's not a surprise is that we are unfortunately out of time today. But no worries, we'll be back for more surprising stories right here on Uproot Reddit. Everybody, make sure you invest in a good security camera and also stay safe, everyone. You never know who could be walking up your door and trying to barge into your own house thinking that your house is a business establishment.